And I was in grade school reading my encyclopedia, and here came this name, Babe Zaharias, of all the things she's done all her life. And I thought, God, I'm a little tomboy, and she did all those things. Maybe I could do one or two of those things in my life. So that got me stimulated, and we moved next to a golf course. And I was 11 years old, and I found some golf balls, and I sold them back to the golfers. And I had a $1 bill, and my mother gave me some change for the streetcar, and I went down to Detroit, and I tried to find a golf club at the sporting goods store for $1. Well, they didn't have any, but they told me to go to the dime store, SS Kresge, and they had a barrel. And in the barrel, tall ones, short ones, bent ones, wooden ones, shiny ones, and there was one that had a number 10 on it. And it was short, straight, and the caddies could play free on Monday if you had clubs. So when I got off the streetcar, and I'm showing the kids my club, and they're all laughing at me because the club I got was a putter. So the first club I ever had was a putter, and I always say in my golf life I started at the end and I'm trying to get to the beginning. I'm kind of Babe, after winning in the Olympics, she wanted to play golf, and she took some lessons from a pro in Los Angeles and picked that game up real quick. But she had been on the House of David baseball team, and she was paid. So therefore, they claimed she was a professional. So she could play golf, but she had nowhere to play and no one to play with. So she turned back amateur and went to England and won the British Women's Amateur at St. Andrews. And she came back to this country. So she was a pro, an amateur, and a pro. And the second time around being a pro, as an amateur, she won at LA Country Club, she won the midwinter in 1946 or 7. And then they started a WPGA, and they ran out of money. It was only 2 years, and Babe is still trying to find somewhere to play and contest her ability. So she went to Wilson Sporting Goods. They hired her to give exhibitions. She still couldn't compete. So she went to Mr. Isley, president of Wilson, and said, Mr. Isley, I want a golf tour so I can compete and show everybody that I'm the best golfer in the world. Babe was a very positive person. So the Wilson Sporting Goods hired Fred Corcoran, who incorporated the LPGA in the state of New York, and Helen Hicks, not Betty Hicks, Helen Hicks of Opal Hill signed that agreement. They brought the agreement to Wichita in the fall of 1949, and we signed it. We were there playing in the U.S. Open, Women's Open. So that's how we became incorporated as a group.
But how did she talk you into it? Because there was a moment where she actually came to you and said, we want you to be a professional.
But just prior to that, so those are our 11 people. Those other 2 never played. So there are really only 11 players.
Oh, wow.
The other 2 signed the charter but never played. But getting back to May and June, Babe was a golf professional at Skycrest in Chicago, which has another name now. And I came from Michigan, and I was at that time just graduating college and signed to teach school in Bowling Green, Ohio in the fall, and I went to play in the Women's Western Open. And Babe and George and Marilyn and I were eating breakfast, and I was sitting directly across from Babe, and she said to me, listen, kids, she said, we need some bulk, we need some players out there, so I have somebody to play with. She said, you should turn pro. And I said, well, Babe, how do I do that? She got up, And she came over to me and she whacked me on the head and she said, "I pronounce you a pro. Go down there on the tee and tell them you're a pro." So that's how I became a pro. The tour is going to start in the January of 1950. I taught 4 days a week, got on a plane, drove to Florida, flew to Florida, played it without a practice round through the months I was teaching in Ohio. That's not the way to do it. And then the end of the school year, I said, I'm not going to teach here anymore. I'm going to go play tour. And my advisors and teachers around, they said, "Well, you're not going to have any future. How are you going to make a living?" And blah, 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 blah. And I said, "Well, I'm just going to try." So we were fortunate to work for companies like Wilson, Spalding, McGregor, and Golfcraft. They were the four major companies, and I represented Golfcraft and their Shirley Spork clubs, and Marilyn Smith had clubs with Spalding, and Louise Suggs was McGregor. Some of you have used these, possibly.
Yes.
And we got 7 cents royalty from a golf club when they sold them. And they gave us a travel expense, and we went to our key accounts around the country, because the very first year in 1950, there was a total of 11 golf tournaments. Well, these golf tournaments, the prize money, for the total prize money for the week was like $3,000, divided by 10 or 12 of us. And, you know, we always stayed at guests at club members' homes. At that time, there were no Holiday Inns. Holiday Inns didn't start till 1951. We stayed in motor courts. We drove by car from tournament to tournament. And in between the tournaments, we serviced our company, Golfcraft Wilson, accounts. And so that's how we started.